Tony Horton in his gorgeous home. And today I'm going to be interviewing him about purpose, values, message, and vision. And the way that I came to know you is I did P90X 30 about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was totally blown away by the health and wellness aspect. But even more than that is I thought that you were such a cool cat.
Oh.
And have a giant heart and are totally loving and truly coming from a place of service.
Thank you.
And you're friggin' hilarious.
Well, we'll find out, won't we? Oh, God.
So, I was overjoyed and elated when a few months ago I was at Experts Academy with Brendan Burchard and he called you up on stage.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's Tony Horton, I love that guy. And then the next day, synchro-destiny brought us together again because we were staying on the same floor in the hotel. And we met you in the hall.
The horns rang out and the gods came together, and
The
here
Tony
we are
Hortons.
together.
And that's how it all happened.
Yeah.
And even though your background is in health and wellness, you are the creator of P90X, which is the most world famous exercise and wellness video series and health program in the world. You are this amazing coach for the human spirit. And I'm just totally blown away by you. When I saw who you were, I went, wait, I need to know more about this guy. And then I found out about your book, The Big Picture, 11 Laws That Can
It will change your life.
Yes.
If you only did 10, you wouldn't get the message. 10, not enough. 12, too many.
That's right. But 11,
Just right.
it's one of my lucky numbers.
It's a good number.
It is.
Yeah.
And law number 2 is about purpose. And so maybe one day I'll talk to you about health and wellness, but what I really get from you is beneath all of that, you have this amazing purpose. You have some incredible values. You definitely have a powerful message to deliver to the world. And it's very clear that you're operating with a big picture and a big vision. Yeah, so I'd love to ask you some things about all that.
I am fired up and I am ready to go.
Rudy,
Yeah.
what is the overall purpose of your life?
The overall purpose of my life is to help other people who are looking for my help to find their purpose. And I think it starts with health and wellness. Certainly it comes from exercise and eating right. Food and fitness first. That's been the foundation for me. The two things I can control. The weather, which is crazy right now outside. LA is, it's like a deluge out there. I can't control that. I can't control the traffic. I can't control a lot of the people in my life. They're going to go their own way at their own time. But I can't control those two things, what I put in my mouth and whether I exercise today or not. And that gives me the energy and enthusiasm to go after my purpose. And my purpose is truly just helping people. I was at a base down here in Los Angeles. I was talking to a bunch of commanders and generals and colonels and whatnot. And the main bulk of what I was talking about was the health and the wellness aspect. But what that does for you as a human being when it comes to your productivity, when it comes to your ability to be able to just be happy and joyous in life. And I think that's the reason why most of us are here. Too many people are struggling just all the time. And they don't have to be, And so exercise and food is that magic formula that just sort of gets your brain waves working in such a way that you can be as happy and as joyous and as productive and as energized as you can possibly be into your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Yeah, I'm going to pretty much just call it at 109. But until then, I'm going to be a fireball from outer space. I hope to be anyway. So far, so good.
You are. You're on it, man. Yeah, and I love that. That's what I always talk about too, that our health and wellness is the foundation of all of it. If you don't have that, how can you be of service in the world? How can you help?
Well, the interesting thing is, and the science shows that physical activity creates a chemical shift and change, norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin. John Rady talks about it in his book, Spark, just the effects of breathing in oxygen into your blood that goes into your brain, that changes the dynamic, it changes the, it's inside the hippocampus, inside the dentate gyrus, this little tiny thing that really affects, it's like miracle growth for the brain. Mm-hmm. And you can go from pessimistic to optimistic. You can go from having a bad memory to a good memory. You can go from, having just the worst cognition in the world to having just all these amazing ideas happening. And it comes from that. And if you double up, you double down with eating foods that help promote that allow your body to recover from your workouts, or allow your body to deal with stress, that allow your body to sleep well at night so your circadian cycle is spot on, so you don't feel like, wow, I just want to get up and throw back a bucket of Joe and get in traffic and be angry. And it's almost so freaky easy when you make that switch, when you understand that. And so then you can pursue your purpose. I mean, the bulk of what we're talking about like this here is, and then you have to figure, because before, I'm going to work, and I'm doing that Monday to Friday, and I'm going home, and it's the weekend, and I'm going to watch the game, and I'm going to hopefully not beat the pets, and just, it's Monday again, here I go. I'm 65, thanks for the watch, now I'm going to start looking for caskets. No, don't do it, right? And so, when you're healthy, and your brain is active, you find solutions where in the past you saw nothing but problems. I mean, things are just easier to solve. And so that way you move forward quickly because, tick tock, I'm 58. I was 28 10 minutes ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we don't have all the time in the world. And we're not going to live forever. So, either you get on it or you don't, right? And so, and that's what I'm trying to share with people. And so I went from a health and wellness guy, but I became a health and wellness guy as a result of all the personal development that I did prior. So it was personal development, health and wellness, and then it's come back full circle back to personal development again. And it's all one big party. It's all one big mash of all these things. And so, and that's been the ride, and it's been really fun. Obviously, we've been able to help millions and millions of people lose weight and get healthy and get energized so that they can begin to look at more activities, more hobbies, more career changes through the health and wellness. And I've seen it. Like, I used to work for the man. I used to work in a cubicle, and I was a big, overweight accountant. And now, now I have my own, line of fitness equipment, or I've started, opening up these gyms. It's like, what? Yeah, and I'll start with P90X. Oh, what happened? So it's a fun, awesome thing.
That's amazing. So what do you feel is the reason for being clear about one's purpose in life? Why do you need to know that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to make it so simplistic that people go, that seems too simplistic. It's purpose. The reason for finding your purpose, see what we did there, a little branding. Branding, very important. It is because it's so critical, it's so important to who you are on this during this short ride on planet Earth. And I started out as a kid with a C- average. That's probably being optimistic. With a speech impediment called cluttering. Yeah, it's a sort of stammering and sort of stuttering, but it's not. It's really the inability to be able to find the words required to say the sentence in such a way so that it was clear, concise, to the point, without all the words jamming together, because I was so insecure that I just assumed that whatever I was saying didn't have any validity, And a lot of that just happened to improve as a result of upping my vocabulary, being language strong, so to speak. And it took voiceover classes, and it took acting classes and improv classes, and it took, getting on stage and attempting comedy. That's a fun process. All right, Tony, you're up. It's 2:30 in the morning, and there's 4 people in the audience. So let's kill it, But for me, that was my ride. That was my journey, and the transformation has been, it's a long process. It's never. Everybody wants it now. They figure I got to go to a couple of Brendon Burchard seminars, or I watch a couple of interviews like this, and it's just this. It's in a way, it's sort of a battle early on. Transformation is hard. Change is hard. You're going 15 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, at some point, you got to begin to go to, put the foot on the accelerator and move forward, and that's scary for people. But you know what I mean? You put your seatbelt on, right? And you just keep opening doors, looking around, you know, and saying yes. You know, my whole transformation was just, I was a no man. I was no, hey Tony, you want to go to no, hey Tony, you want to go do something physical that you've never done before? No, you know. And so I had no experiences, I had no stories to tell. And now I just say yes to everything. And if it goes, you know, if it's a mess, then I have a fun story, you know. That's you know, and then you think, oh wow, you know, when you're always twisting and turning and learning and growing and moving forward, as opposed to just sort of flatlining, and then eventually as you get, you know, into your late 30s, 40s, everything starts going downhill. So it's all choice, really, in the end.
Yeah. So as you've cruised through your life, what are the values? What are those core values, or what has been most important to you in your life?
Well, you know, having read Richard Carlson, Deepak Chopra, Andrew Weil, Tony Robbins, Brendan Bouchard, Gary Zukav. I mean, if you look at my library and you look at all the personal development books, a lot of mountaineering books and skiing books, but it's mostly been, you know, books about fitness and kinesiology and exercise science and nutrition science, and then it's all the personal development books, all mashed together. You know, along the way, you know, there's always these themes that pop up, regardless of the guru, you know, and I've learned over the course of many years, it's not about the guru, you know what I mean, because they're as flawed or more so than you are half the time. I can't tell you how many books I read, and I went to one of their seminars, and I went, that guy's a bonehead, you know what I mean? So, but the themes are still there, you know, the information is still there. And, you know, I came up with the phrase, do your best and forget the rest. That is one of my main values. It's the first chapter of my book in the big picture. Yeah. And, you know, when I say that, it's just doing your best. It changes. It changes from day to day. It changes from hour to hour. It changes with the weather. It changes with barometric pressure. It changes with your, you know, with your mood, your stress, your cortisol levels. A lot of things are out of your control. But if you know that the main theme is to show up, just show up. Yeah. You know, like today, I could have blown this off. I've got things going on. I'm up to my eyeballs in alligators. But I thought, well, what do I get if I say no to our interview? I get nothing. What are the first two letters of nothing? No! I don't say no. I mean, sometimes I have to because I can't overlap. You know, I mean, there's just too much going on. Yeah. And so doing your best and forgetting the rest is showing up, be in the room, enjoy the journey, be present, have very low expectations. That way it's always going to turn out pretty good. Yeah. You know what I mean? The problem is that we're all freaked out, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, thinking about our expectations, having extraordinarily high expectations, and what a shock we're disappointed because the event or the course or the meeting or that phone call or the email didn't work out the way we wanted. So, you know, I was on QVC and it was, I don't know, it was like a $20 million people audience around the world. And it was the first time, and I had done my homework. I knew what I was going to do. And everybody in my little team, are you ready? You good? How you feeling? I go, fine. I go, what's everybody freaking out for? Well, you know, it's 20 million people. And I said, I have very low expectations. You know what I mean? I'm not attached to the outcome. You know what I mean? And so these are my values, like just being present, being a good listener, you know, trying not to interrupt people, trying not to talk on and on. Still, I'm working on that one. You know what I mean? And just understanding that the more I do for myself to improve the quality of my life, to improve the quality of my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual life, then eventually it's not about me anymore. I mean, that's what personal development is, only personal for part of the ride. And then you're supposed to let go of that and stop being selfish. Because in a sense you are. You have to be selfish for a little while because you're learning and you're in that transitional stage. And then when you have that aha, the Japanese call it a satori, a sudden moment of enlightenment where you go, oh, not about me anymore. It's about service. Yeah. And when you're helping other people, it's really hard to be sad. Yeah. It's really hard to be depressed. It's really hard to be, you know, freaked out. Because it's about, oh, I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to grow. I'm going to show you how to learn. I'm going to show you how to walk, run, sprint, live large. Boom.
So it sounds like for you, that's the reason to have values.
Yeah, because when I was a child, I was petrified almost all the time. I was in some state of fear all the time. I mean, the speech impediment certainly, magnified that. Also the fact that I moved 6 times before 5th grade, and I was a small kid, and I was a non-athletic kid, and I was petrified of girls. Like, whoa, I like them so much, but I don't know what to say. They're so different and beautiful and scary. And that all went away with just personal development and working out.
Yeah, amazing. So, what's the message that you feel you're here to deliver to the world and those that you serve?
That if I wrote it in the book. That's what the 11 laws are for. These are 11 laws that I wrote for myself. Purpose, consistency, doing your best for getting the rest, rest, relaxation, loving it. These are all the titles of some of the chapters in the book. And this was developed for me, based on all the personal development work that I did. I mean, I look at Don Miguel Ruiz's, and if you say that wrong, it sounds like Dom DeLuise. Don DeLuise wrote a personal, no. Don Miguel Ruiz, not Dom DeLuise. It's very similar but different. But you'll have to Google both of those guys. One's very funny and the other one has some incredible insight. But if you look at the 4 Agreements, which was Dom DeLuise, Don Miguel Ruiz's book, it was so basic and so simple, and there was so much passion and love and simplicity in it. I read that book through twice. I highlighted it and underlined it and rabbit-eared all the pages. And it made a lot of sense to me, And so whether it's 10 Commandments or 12 Steps or Don Miguel Ruiz's book, where there's only 4, these 11 things are all sort of pulled and borrowed in some way to kind of create a formula that helped me. And I practiced each and every one of those all the time. I mean, they're just locked into my brain. And so, and then that's of course when I met Brendan Bouchard, he really enjoyed the book. He had done P90X. He had great results with P90X, and he thought there's some unbelievable elements of the book to kind of build our course. And so then we did Living Large with him, and we've had a great first launch. I'll be down in San Diego talking about it down there with Ariana Huffington and some others, which will be cool at one of his huge seminars. So. High Performance Academy.
I'm gonna be there.
You will. So will I. I'll be on stage being a Looney Tune.
Goody.
Talking about, and another element is humor. A lot of people just take everything so darn seriously. And that's what I always. And look, some people are inherently funny. Yeah. Some people inherently maybe aren't funny, but they've got a great sense of humor. Some people inherently don't have either one of those things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which doesn't mean you can't see the lighter side of life. But I think quite often so many people are so freaked out all the time is because everything is this big deal. And not, it's like Richard Carlson's stuff, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. And, and like we're talking, instead of tragedies or serious illnesses or injuries, there's certain things. But a lot of us treat, a hangnail like it's the end of the world, or an email where they interpreted an email in such a way that they feel like they're being slighted. And they have this, there's a great story of, there's 10 people in line at the bank, and bank robbers come in and they terrorize everybody, and they take their watches and their wallets and their deposits, and they've got them on the ground and guns to their head, you know what I mean? It's like this 4-hour ordeal, and no one's killed, and no one's hurt, but it's very traumatic. And you look at all 10 of these people in line at the bank, and one of them is absolutely ruined. I mean, that's it. They're the most paranoid. Decades go by. They got 45 locks on the doors. They're never the same. They're traumatized for life. And at the other end of the scale, some guy's like, "Hey, man, I wouldn't believe what happened to me at the bank today. Let's go skiing tomorrow." I mean, they just. So it's the way we react to things, and quite often that's not stuff I can help people with. I can give them the information. I mean, look, C- student, speech impediment. Shoved in the locker, beat up at the bus stop, traumatized and fearful, and somewhat suicidal as a child. Family stuff. Everybody has that dysfunctional family stuff. So, I didn't have, real drama, but I had enough to make me crazy as a kid and unhappy as a kid. So you have to decide at some point, am I going to focus on the problem, or am I going to begin to find solutions? And there was a great one. Steve Wolf's book, Romancing the Shadow. God, I learned so much from that book. You know, just basically, there's the person that you present to the world. Hey, everything's great, fantastic. How you doing? Oh, I'm on fire. You know, they're $75,000 in debt. They haven't paid their mortgage. The bills are packed up to here. Their wife hates them. Their kid got a swastika tattoo on the forehead. Like, but everything's great, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of learn to, here's reality, and here is your fantasy version of it. Guess where the answers are? They're over there. Where, you know, and a lot of people just can't get real. You know, facts are facts, truth is truth, honesty is honesty, and until you begin to figure out that those things are where you need to put your time and energy instead of, you know, projecting out this everything's okay vibe, you're never going to get there. And I talk about that a lot in the book, and I talk about that in the course with Brendan.
Thank you. Well, that's what this project, The Reason, is all about, and thank you for being such a straight-up no-chaser, accessible man.
Well,
we need more.
I'm glad you got past the moat with the alligators and the security police. Got bummed. No, she just walked right in.
I did. I just jumped over.
You jumped over the fence.
Yeah.
Over that razor wire. With the pole vault.
That's right.
And landed right at my front door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Rode a rainbow. So, for other teachers and leaders out there, people that want to make a positive contribution, why do you think it's important for people to know what their message is?
Well, you know, here's the thing about this world we're in now. You know, I mean, personal development's been around since, you know, biblical times, pretty much. Those 10 Commandments, that was a heck of a start, I'll tell you that much. But it's branched out in so many areas right now. I mean, my first introduction was Wayne Dyer, Looking Out for Number One. I think that book was 1974. I read that book from cover to cover. Like, Looking Out for Number One wasn't necessarily all about looking out for me. It was kind of that theme I talked about a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Get your act together and start looking out, you know, looking out for others. But your message has got to be unique, and it's got to be extraordinary, and it's got to come in from a slightly different angle, because there's so many people in this industry right now. I mean, you know, look at Tony Robbins. He's had such an amazing impact on so many people, and he's done it in a very unique, charismatic way. Brendan Bouchard is sort of the same way. You know, I mean, Brendan has this, and the thing is about Brendan, you get what you see there. You know what I mean? There's no, it's like you don't go backstage and he's, you know, shooting heroin. It's just not who that guy is. I mean, he's as authentic and real and as honest. And I've had downtime with him, had dinner with him, I stayed at his house. He's just a good dude.
Yeah.
Good dude who walks the walk, talks the talk.
Absolutely.
All right? But he's got his angle. You know, Oprah, look what she's been able to do for some. She's got her angle. And so you don't want to be a carbon copy of somebody else. You know, what happens to a lot of folks is they're this, you know, super amped up, jacked up, right? But you know, their home life or their real life is filled with chaos. You want to be able to, you know, if you're talking about these things, you want to be able to live these things. And so there's a consistency there about you in your public world and your private world. And you know, like if you walked in my door and I was over here screaming at my wife or beating my dog, all right, Ann, let me just beat my dog before we talk about honesty and truth, you know, and compassion. No.
Yeah.
It's just
well, and that was what was so amazing about when I met you in person, is that you matched the vibration that you put out in all of your offerings. And in fact, you've exceeded it. So
I'm actually nicer than I am.
Yes. He's even better than the best, and that's literally impossible.
I had good parents. You know, I don't know,
Yeah.
and they had their issues as well. You know, a lot of it is serendipitous. It's kismet. It's luck. It's the strong desire to be authentically happy most of the time. And that's financial freedom. That's, you know, physical strength and flexibility, and it's emotional. You know, being present and being comfortable in your own skin, regardless of the situation, without needing coffee or alcohol or drugs or bullshit to get through the moment. You know.
Yeah.
And then it's also the mental game. You know, making sure that you're always searching, you're always looking, you're always finding a guru and mentors, never assuming that you have all the answers even though you're successful. A lot of successful people. Like, oh, I got the bank account, I got the power, I got the money, and now I'm going to be a bonehead to everybody, and assuming that you can ride that wave forever.
Yeah.
I mean, here I am with Beachbody now, 18 years, going on 19 years, and I'm still relevant, which is great. And a lot of people in my industry, they come in and they go. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I'm still here, but I've had to reinvent myself like Madonna, a couple times. Yeah. From P90X to 22-minute hardcore to 10-minute trainer, and just understanding that different demographics need a different formula. Yeah. It's like a comedian. You know, if you're a comedian, one of the simple rules is know your audience, know them immediately. You know what I mean? You can't do graphic sex jokes at the convalescent home. Can't. Mm-hmm. All right. And when you're on the college circuit, they don't want to hear about your family. They want to hear, what I mean? So it's like, learning and that takes time. That's a craft as much as anything. And some people just come into the room like a tornado, and others come in like a lamb, and, their delivery is wrong. And so if you're in our industry and you want to have an impact and you want it to be relatively grand, I mean, you've got to find your very unique, very special, very specific form of delivery. Mm-hmm. What kind of rhetoric are you using? Is it more, is it artistic rhetoric? Is it more facts and figures? Are you more of a professor type? Yeah. But I mean, anybody who's popular, I don't care what it is, if it's a politician or an athlete or in personal development world or whatever, people gravitate to, why is Tony Robbins so popular? Why is the Pope the most popular Pope in modern history? They got a vibe where a majority of people really dig it. Yeah. Dig it. That's from the 60s.
Dig it, yeah.
Google it, man.
Dig the vibes.
Yeah.
So you just started talking a little bit about what the big vision is for you. Can you tell us some more about what your vision is for health and wellness, love and relationships, career and service, money and abundance, creativity and freedom, living a soul and spirit-centered life? What are the big, this is what I'm going for?
I sort of scratched the surface earlier, but honesty, I think, is crucial. I remember as a kid when I was really struggling, I was that Stephen Wolf thing where I had the person I was projecting and the person that I really was. And I was living between those two worlds and never really being truthful to others and to myself. And recognizing the truth. I think there's a lot of people right now who wouldn't know the truth if it hit them smack in the face, And so that requires, a serious amount of personal development. It requires being extraordinarily vulnerable in situations where you've never been vulnerable before. And the reaction of people, they will go, what are you saying? I'm not ready for this. But that just means you got to find a new tribe. Yeah. You just got okay, hey, I'm trying to come out of the shadows here, and I'm trying to be vulnerable here, and I'm trying to get to the next level here, and I'm done being a bullshitter, and I want to be somebody who can be authentic. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's it. It's authenticity, it's truth, it's honesty. That is, I think, anybody who really wants to flourish has got to do that. That's everything. And then, of course, there's just, I meet so many people who've had this ride in life, financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, in relationships that goes like this. Bang, 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 bang. Because most of us, if you put a piece of paper in front of them and you said, here's the quiz and the things you're supposed to do right and things that are wrong to move you forward in every aspect of your life, they know which boxes to check. Yeah. Eating vegetables or having Red Bull and Doritos for breakfast. You know what I mean? Yeah. Having a 4 egg white omelet with grilled vegetables and avocado and a side of kale salad for breakfast, or a double cheese egg chimichanga. Which one would help your general state of mind, your longevity, the quality of your life? I know which one I'm supposed to do, but this one tastes really good. Okay, so, and that's in every category of your life. Right. We all know what to do. Yeah. But we're hanging around the wrong people. Yeah. We don't have any good mentors, coaches, or teachers. And we're stuck in a job that we hate just to pay the bills and get by. Yeah. And, a great story that I talk about a lot, and I think this kind of makes it really clear for people. If you want to kind of get to the next level in your life, there's a story about a guy who went to college, great with numbers, great with math, became an accountant. He could do it in his sleep. Worked with a great firm, had a good income, got married, had kids, had a decent house, had the car. So you drive by his house, you go, oh, he's got it going on, all right? But not a happy guy.
Yeah.
I'm in traffic, I'm going, and I'm sitting in my cubicle, and I'm crunching numbers all day. And I don't even have to think, but he loved bikes. Mountain bikes, street bikes, any kind of a bike, anything with two wheels and spokes, man. He was into it. So he'd usually, on weekends, bolt over the local bike shop and hang out with the employees and talk to the manager, and he would ask all these questions, and they would say, you know more than we do. what do you do for a living? I'm an accountant. Oh, all right. How come you're not in this industry? Well, it's a good firm, and, he had all his reasons, like so many of us do. And then when the manager just came up to him and said, man, you're unbelievably great with customers. You know every, pickle, olive, and onion, gear, spoke, and bolt when it comes to this place. Can you want to work here, part-time, on a weekend, like on Saturday? So he went back to his wife. His wife happened to be cool. Honey, you like bikes, you're over there anyway. If you're going to be over there, you might as well get paid. Yeah. So he made a little side money. 5 years later, he owned the place.
Wow.
He worked Saturday, then he worked Sundays, then he became the weekend manager, assistant manager, and then the boss said, I've been in the industry 35 years, it's time for me to go. And he went and got a loan, and he owned the place. He's the happiest guy in the world. So that's there's so many stories like that. I mean, even with people who did P90X, they had some other job, and now they're doing something they love as a result of just making that physical, mental, and emotional shift through food and fitness.
Yeah. So then, what do you feel is the reason for being clear about what your vision is, rather than just cruising without knowing what the heck you're doing?
Well, a lot of us have jobs that we love. So is your job your passion?
Mm-hmm.
Quite often it is, yeah. I'm an oceanographer. I studied my whole life to get on the ocean and just do that. Or I'm a paleontologist. That's my, people have those jobs. But other ones are just sort of paying bills.
Yeah.
And so you have to get a hobby. Mm-hmm. You have to get a hobby. Like what, in Keith Ellis's book, The Magic Lamp. Mm-hmm. Here's a great simple thing that you can do. And I think this answers your question. Piece of paper, make a line. First list of 20 things. If you could have whatever career you wanted, no matter what, didn't have to work a second on it. Just, hey, you get to be an astronaut. Hey, you get to be Brad Pitt's sidekick in movies for the rest of your life. Hey, you get to own your own construction company. Let's write down anything, because we all have interests. We all have these things that we love, that we're not earning a living at, but we still do them and love them. Like, God, if I could only own a bike shop, that would be. So write it down. Yeah. Write it down, 20. Now, if you had all the power and energy and determination and desire to have a career, what would that list of 20 be? And quite often you're going to see the same thing. You might have an astronaut to walk the moon. That's be really cool, but to work at it, I know that's not feasible. So you have your other list. Right. And then you start crossing out. Yeah. You start pitting number one against number one. Okay, well this one I can't do, that's silly. Yeah, this one and this one. And all of a sudden you should have two. Right. And then, oh, by the way, you do it again, and you might get, theoretically, you're going to end up with the same 2 or 3 things that are going to rise to the surface. Yep. Guess what? That's who you are. That's just Keith Ellis. That's it, man. I stole that from him. And so when I did the list, movie star and own my own fitness company. And now I'm sort of not a movie star, and I don't know.
You're a hybrid.
I'm a hybrid.
You are.
I hybrid those two things.
Way to go.
And that's one way to get there, So, if you haven't collected coins since you were a little kid, well then, and that's something you just think, oh, that's a little kid thing. Oh, I collect coins. I love it. I still, I don't spend as much time doing it, but I open up my coin collection and I check to see how, that coin I collected when I was 13 and what it's worth now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, it's worth more money. That's kind of fun. So, that's just one way to get there. And I think it's pretty simple.
Well, what's so amazing is that what you just said is basically following your bliss, like following what makes you happy. So the reason is so that you're happy, but then the reason's a double entendre because you used reason. You used reason to find the reason. for having a vision.
Mm.
And it's a combination of both those things, because then you have your head and your heart in it.
Well, you know, as we're talking, it's a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strategy to approach your destiny. You know, it gives you a path.
Yeah.
You know, one of the great lessons, and I talk about this in our conversation with Brendan Bouchard, in Romancing the Shadow. You know, one of the simple lessons is, and you can do this alone, but it's always fun to do it with a partner. You know, there's two people sitting across from each other, and you have sort of a weekly meeting. You know, you just set a time and a date, or you can do it more than that if you want. But a week is kind of, you know, pretty gets it done. And let's say you need to be facilitated, and I will be your facilitator. And my job is not to ask too many questions, but it's a yes and no thing. And so my question to you would be, what is the question that you need to ask in what area that you're struggling?
Mm-hmm.
And you would say, I just despise my job. I've had this job for 10 years, and I hate it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to do because the pay's pretty good, but you know, I get in that building and I'm miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And my job would be, that's perfect. You know, quick, succinct. You know exactly what it is. It doesn't make you feel good. Good. Now attach some basic emotions to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just use words to describe the emotions. Makes me feel sad and angry and depressed and, you know, empty. Mm. Ah, okay. Those are good. Now, we're going to take that to the next level. How long do you want to stay with those emotions in your life? I don't. I want to end them. All right, how does that make you feel? Overwhelmed. I mean, what the idea is to get those emotions into some real deep feelings. Like, I feel helpless. I feel overwhelmed. I feel crushed by it all. Oh, all right. Well, we know what the issue is, and we know the two layers of emotion are. And so now, my question is to you, what will you do this week in the next 7 days to turn that around?
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. That's the part that most of us ignore.
Yeah.
We don't do that part.
The taking action part.
Taking action part.
Yeah.
You know, and you give yourself a timeline. You know,
Yeah.
7 days is enough. So you know what? I'm going to start looking at some ads online. That would be one, to see what else is out there in a field that's, you know, something else. Or, you know what, there's a hobby that I love rock climbing, and I haven't done it in 15 years, and there's a rock climbing gym down the road, and I'm just going to go over there and just start rock climbing because it takes my mind off the silliness. And, you know, who knows, you'll end up owning a rock climbing gym in 5 years. I mean, it's just sort of like, it's just instead of just sitting in the mashed potatoes of all the angst and the confusion, you just write the email, make the phone call, schedule the meeting, go to the event, you know, find people online, look for the tribe. And then, by the way, you're not going to solve it in a week.
No.
It's going to be another week and another week, and then you sit down with the facilitator. So how'd it go last week? And I've done this with people before, and some are like, boom, 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 like rocket ships.
Right.
Like, I can't believe this. I was so scared, and I talked to this person, and I had a meeting, and they said, hey, when can you start working? And I went, tomorrow, and I quit that damn job based on this silly conversation. Yeah. Got a new job. Other people, 5 months later, yeah, man, I just been really busy, and I didn't do it, and I mean, I was part of a group, and we did that, and that group met for 10 years.
Wow.
I quit after the first year because I got the memo.
Yeah.
I got the memo, and when I quit, they wanted me to quit because every time I got in there, people didn't do what they said they were going to do. I go, why are we here? What are you doing? TikTok, man, let's go!
Yeah.
It's accountability group. Like what? And they would all say, man, you're too hard on us, right? And then they voted to get rid of me, and I barely survived the vote. And then months later, I just left. And they wanted me to stay. Don't go. Yeah. You're the one that keeps us in track.
You're the mojo, man.
Leave, go. What do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing here is, like Brendan's awesome. I had this art project, which I still haven't done, and I told him about it, and he said, just schedule it for Saturday.
Yeah.
Just call 5 people and schedule it for Saturday. Just do it Saturday.
Time blocking.
Yeah, just do it. And sometimes, and I do that in 95% of my life, but this particular art project I haven't done, so hypocrite.
All right. When are you going to do it?
I'm not going to do it because I left all the materials out in the rain and now they're all wrecked.
Someone left my art project in
The rain. Yeah. So, hey, and that's a good point. Like, hey, is Tony Horton perfect? Does he do everything exactly at this? No. And so you have to look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And you aim for 100%, but if you end up with 95, that's 79.4% better than almost everybody else. So that's a good place to be.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're always growing and evolving.
Hopefully.
And living up to our own values and vision and message and purpose is a tall order.
Tall order.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that as we know, the transitional period is crazy and creepy and weird, and if our expectations are just a little bit too high, we often get disappointed, and we don't really need to. And but we do our project in 2018, and you go, yeah, maybe it didn't happen as quickly as possible, but it did happen because you use the tools there where you've used them before in other aspects of your life, and you don't judge it. Don't spend too much energy doing that, and you keep those expectations down, and you find some just fun, cool, smart, awesome people, and then they'll help lift you, and you lift them, and it's this mutual love society, and everything gets better. So, yeah, that's it. There's no set rules. There's no specific ways that work for you as opposed to how they work for you and I.
Right.
And just to be flexible, that's super awesome. And I talked about it earlier, but listening is a lost art for sure. People don't really hear. I trained Ewan McGregor for a while, the actor. He's just prolific. He's movie after movie after movie. He's so talented. He can play anything. And when you speak to Ewan McGregor, he doesn't take his eyes off of yours. You can see that he has completely stopped. His brain is a sponge. He's listening to me for advice so that he can get as fit as he can for a film. And when I would speak to him, I found it imperative that I was very specific, I was very succinct, and I was brief. You know what I mean? He invoked a desire from me to be very clear about what it is I was saying. Purely by the way he was looking at me. Awesome guy. I tell my wife, one day Ewan McGregor will be my best friend. He doesn't know it yet. But every time a friend of mine is good friends with him, and I said, how's my best friend Ewan doing today? And he goes, oh yeah, he doesn't even know your name. And that's not true.
He loves you.
Yes. An awesome guy.
What's not to love?
What's not to love about Ewan McGregor? Come on. He's Scottish. And I'm all right.
You're bloody good too.
All right, yeah.
So, you painted a little bit of a picture, but can you give us a little bit of before and after? Like, what was your life like? How was it challenging before, when you didn't have this clarity about your purpose and your values and what matters most and your message and your vision? And then how have things shifted in a positive way?
Well, it's funny. I will answer that question differently than I've ever answered it before.
Cool.
When I was younger, between the ages of, say, birth, through halfway through college, big chunk there. But most of my misery was between, I'd say, second grade and high school. At the end of high school got better. College got even better. But I was just, I just didn't know. I didn't have any answers. There were no personal development courses. It was reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so, and I was terrible in all three of those, plus others. I was good in art. I was a good art student, oddly enough. I enjoyed that. It was just me, and I got an award in 9th grade in Syracuse, New York. Not 9th grade, I was 9 years old. It was in the museum, the local museum, this piece of tissue and ink art that I did. Crazy. That was my only moment of glory. But terrible football, basketball, baseball, hockey, no good. And then as I got into college, I learned about Andrew Weil's stuff. Or Wayne Dyer, I'm sorry, Wayne Dyer. And just went, wow, I've never seen a book like this. I didn't even know what personal development was. But it just gave me all this information I didn't have. And I thought, well, either I'm going to start to apply this, or I'm not. And so from end of college through that's 1978 to up to the mid 90s. That's where where it was craziness because I was learning these things and I was going to these seminars and I was reading these books and I was taking acting classes and I was going to improv classes and I was doing stand-up comedy, and it was this big mash of different ways of trying to improve my life. And it's funny because when I moved to this house, from my old house, I was going through, like, do I need to keep this, get rid of that? And I found this diary that I wrote in over the course of about a 10-year period when I was going through that transitional stuff. And so my wife and I were, filling boxes, and we sat down, and I said, oh my God. And I was reading it, and I would start every page with, I would rate a 1 to 10, because I'm often affected by the weather. Like, I love rain and tumult and showers, and I wanted to be a meteorologist. So for me, a stormy rainy day would be a 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if it was 72.5 degrees and clear with a slight breeze, that would be a 10. You know what I mean? But if it was just muggy or hot, I'd always rate it low. I don't like summer. I don't like humidity. I don't like heat. And so I would rate the weather, and I would also rate the mood. And you would see how the weather and the mood, a lot of it had to do with whether I was hungover or not too. But and then I would just write, just kind of free, like The Artist's Way. If you don't know what The Artist's Way is, a great course, and it's just those pages every day, 3 pages. Oh my gosh! So I kind of would write that, and I was reading this to my wife. She married a pretty together guy, and she said, "Oh my God, how many years ago?" He goes, "I don't know, 15, 18 years ago." She said, "You were a mess." I said, "Yeah, I was manic. I was like, everything's great. I got an audition, and I booked a lowbrow commercial. It's the greatest day in the world because I'm going to get royalty checks in the mail in 6 months. Like that was the highs for me as a young actor. And then, girlfriend broke up with me, or I didn't get the job, or I got fired. It was just like wham, 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 wham. And the reason why that question is a great question is because I think from a lot of people who are willing to get to the next level, that's not always the case, but you're going to have this place of total desperation on some level. And then you're going to have this other place where you have these highs, and these lows, and these highs and lows. But if you keep doing the work, it's not this anymore. It goes from down here to up, down, to up here and kind of floats like that. That's the ultimate goal. That's the reason why we do this work. That's the reason why you and I are talking. That's the reason why I've done Tony Robbins, Andrew Weil, and all these different people, right? And been all these different seminars and stand-up comedy. But when you're in this stage, that middle stage, most people quit. Yeah. They quit. Like, I've been at this thing for a year. Yeah. I'm still broke, and my next girlfriend broke up with me, and I'm still in debt, and I'm still overweight, and Well, the past is history, future's a mystery. What you gonna do now? You know what I mean? And so, not to say that my life is like this now, but I understand the ebb and flow, the trials and tribulations. I understand that's part of the process. So you either embrace it, or you go, I don't want to do that anymore. And then my peers, I'm 58, so there's a lot of people my age, we're just done. They're living through their kids. They don't ski anymore. They have no aspirations. They're not part of any clubs. They're hanging around the same 15 people they've been hanging around since college. You know what I mean? And they have no interesting stories to tell. They don't travel. Their passports have expired. Not interested in that. And everybody can have it, you know what I mean? But the worst advice that you can give is the kind that's never been asked for in the first place. People just, when they finally get to that, and that's the one thing, in our industry. You want to help everybody. This is great. You know what I mean? It's like learning a new word 10 minutes ago and expecting everybody knows what it means. Conundrum. You don't know what that means? What a loser. I only learned it 5 seconds ago. And the same thing with personal development. People try to help their friends and family and coworkers get to that level. They're going to get there when you get there. So you have to kind of leave people alone. Because your greatest intentions, that thing that you really love and you're passionate about, it's received with resentment. Oh, it's the opposite of what you expected. Hi, look at how happy, joyous and financially sound I am. You can be that same way, dude. Leave me alone, And then they end up kind of, getting out of your life. And maybe that's a good thing. But sometimes, if you're just behaving in a way consistently over time, they'll come back around if they want to. And if they do, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's that whole thing where if you are embodying something, your mere presence becomes very attractive, and people are going to want to know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you will attract their attention. Yeah.
You only hope.
You would only hope. So you've mentioned some amazing teachers and people who've helped you along the way. Who are the 3 top people, top 3 books, top 3 hot tips that you think are the shining stars for getting clear about your purpose and your values and your message?
You're going to make me pick 3?
I know, but we're bottom lining it. You've mentioned a lot.
Well, Gary Zukav had a nice run there for a while. He sort of disappeared a little bit. But The Seat of the Soul, was... I would read a paragraph and go, what?
Yeah.
What? And it was, it's really the book, it's quantum physics and karma. You know what I mean? What goes around comes around. I mean, that's probably it's so much more deeper and profound than that. Richard Carlson's books were really great. Those with the small stuff. It's like, just get busy. Anything that had to do with cognitive therapy, just sort of like, establish the problem, what are you going to do? Establish the problem, what are you going to do? That was easy for me. And then, I'm not going to do 3. John Rady's book, Spark. I mean, when it comes to health and wellness and why, setting your purpose, it's not about the after picture, it's not about the reflection in the mirror, it's not about the scale. Tape measures, the dress sizes, or what nice people say to you as a result of you losing some weight. I mean, that's a very ephemeral, short-term approach that usually results in a bad outcome at some point. But if you train today because today's going to be better, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every possible way, then you're going to, all I have to worry about is today? Okay, then good. But the other days keep coming, and you have to kind of repeat that process, right? And so that was a great thing. John Rady's book was powerful as well. So some of them had to do with health and wellness, some of them had to do with personal development. And then, of course, Keith Ellis's book, The Magic Lamp. That book made it very clear that I'm not supposed to be an astronaut or a fashion designer. You know what I mean? It just said, here's where you're putting all your energy. You're not making any money there because you're a bartender and you're a mime at the pier and you're a carpenter and you're doing these other things to pay your bills and feed yourself. But you are a fitness guy. You understand how that's affected you and how that can affect others. And you're pretty good at disseminating that information in a way that it's palatable. So, and you're an entertainer. There's not a lot of people who deliver fitness the way I do. It's an anomaly for sure. Because most people in my industry are very serious and push-ups and they're screamers and they're drill sergeants and me, I'm doing impressions of pterodactyls and Arnold Schwarzenegger and saying things like, don't smash your face. And if you don't know, you're going to have to buy that peanut index to find out. But so, because exercise sort of sucks, let's face it, it's like hard and it's sweaty and it takes time, you schedule it and then you're sore afterward, like the reward is soreness. Ooh, let me check those boxes. Wow, can somebody punch me in the face while I'm doing it? So you got to make it entertaining, and you got to give people options, and you have to give them variety. That's all I did. I did variety, options, and funny, and nobody else did those 3 things at the same time. And what was the question?
You answered it.
Oh, good.
Some hot tips, some people
and books,
that
and
helped you along
yes,
the way.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you've shared a lot, but in closing, anything else that you want to share about the reason for getting clear about your purpose, your values, your message, and your big vision?
I think the reason is because the alternative is horrible. The alternative is horrible. And when you've been, to the mountaintop, you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave. And you're willing to do all that work as long as it takes to be able to stay at least close to the peak. You know what I mean? And understanding that sometimes it'll ebb and flow, and you're not going to be like man on top of the mountain forever. But at least you'll have the information, you'll have the foundation, you'll have the tribe, you'll have the knowledge. You'll learn that you don't have to be. Personal development isn't about I, me, me, mine. The great Beatles song, I, me, mine. I don't know, I'm not doing that right. But it's not an I, me, mine world. I mean, it has been. It's become that. But the joy and the happiness and the purpose and the love and the passion comes from, creating information so that the people who are looking at you and learning from you have faith in what it is that you're saying so they can apply it to their lives. Boom! 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 3 books, triple boom. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're a gem.
Well, I'm more of a ruby.
You are.
I am. I'm like half ruby, half crazy. But I'm crazy for you. So, Anne, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
This was awesome, and these are great questions, and I think the lighting's pretty good too. So,
Yeah.
so I look
You
good.
look fabulous.
Do I?
You do.
All right.
You're shining like a ruby.
Yes, like a sweaty mess. No, it was great, and thanks a lot. And
Yeah.
hopefully the folks at home, I'm not doing a workout video. You folks at home, maybe you're at the office, maybe you're in your car, I don't know. Maybe you're at the beach, who knows where you are. But I hope you've learned something here from our conversation, and I appreciate you, I appreciate you, and let's make the world a better place.
Yes, thank you. I love you, and I support you.
Oh, thank you so
I'm
much.
grateful for you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And I love you, and I support you.
Namaste, bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Reason. It was such an honor and pleasure to interview Tony Horton. If you'd like to learn more about Tony and his amazing offerings, please visit him at TonyHortonLife.com. My vision for you is that this interview helped you get clear about the reasons that motivate you in your life, and that it supports you in conjuring up greater courage to openly and vulnerably share the reasons that inspire you to live life in alignment with your purpose, values, message, and vision with those you love and serve. If you liked it, then like it, love it, comment on it, and share it with those that you love and serve. And take some time to ask yourself these powerful questions about the reason why you do what you do and feel how you feel. For more episodes and to learn more about my offerings, please visit me at AnneVanDewater.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Anne Vandewater. I am Anne Vandewater. Remember, the reason reveals the way.